Yo, what up? Welcome to another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. I'm Patrick, and the Warriors won, but also kind of lost. The Warriors beat a bottom feeder, the Houston Rockets, but they also lost James Wiseman. Now, as of this recording, we have no idea how hurt Wiseman is. He took a dive. He got swatted on a nasty block by, I think, Kenyon Martin Jr. Wiseman came in, tried to do the lefty flush on the break, and Martin just got his hand square on the ball, threw Wiseman's momentum off, and he landed awkwardly on his knee. It didn't look too bad, but the fall was kind of strange. He didn't brace himself, and so a lot of impact came down on his knee. I have no idea what it could be besides, hopefully it's just a bruised knee. It could be a sprain. I don't think it's an ACL. I mean, if he had an ACL, then talk and chatter about that would have come out by now. But it sucks because, this is almost kind of the opposite of the Washington Wizards game where I was like, hey, they lost the game, but they got Wiseman some positive development minutes. And in effect, they improved their draft stock by lifting the Wizards up a game and then dropping themselves down a game. This game against the Rockets, they lifted themselves up in the standings and they dropped the Rockets. But of course, they also lost Wiseman, so that development was put on pause. Once again, it sucks because I hope he's all right, and I hope that he won't miss too many games. But regardless of how minor the injury could be, he's going to miss some time. I mean, the level of caution at this point in the NBA is just really, really, really careful. And if he's your number 2 pick, he is the bridge to the future, all that stuff right now. They're not going to just trot him back out the next night or the next game against Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets on Monday. So we're going to be without James Wiseman probably, I'm guessing, at least a week. And that sucks because there's only 20-ish games left and we need to see more from him. He needs to see more from himself. The team needs to see more from him. And we were just starting to. He looked like he was getting confident and he was getting into a rhythm in this new simplified pick and roll, just dive to the basket and do your thing type offense. He'd been hitting his lobs. He'd been rebounding. He'd been hitting floaters, a few jumpers here and there. He had 6 points in 6 minutes against the Rockets before that ill-fated dunk attempt. It would have been nasty if he hit that dunk, but props to Martin for the defense on that one. Again, it sucks because Wiseman is the most important piece to this Warriors puzzle at this point, and is definitely a downer. Even if he misses 3, 4, 5 games, those are huge, huge reps that he's not getting. And he just has not gotten enough reps this season because of injuries, because of COVID issues, and also because this team has been trying to make the playoffs. So if he were on a garbage team, 100% garbage team, he would be getting way more minutes. Look at Anthony Edwards and the number of minutes he's got. So for a kid who didn't play much before because he left Memphis, because the NCAA sucks, he's somebody that needed as many minutes as possible. He's still developing. His mind is still developing in that respect. And he needs reps, and it sucks that he's going to miss a bunch more. The Warriors and Wiseman, they just need wins. And by wins, I don't mean wins, literal wins. I mean things that are yeah, that's good. Building up towards a positive view of the roster, of the main pieces of the roster, of moving towards the offseason and to next season. All the optimism that the Warriors had and the fan base had coming into this season before Klay tore his Achilles, we want that again. And unless Wiseman gets the time and shows that he is a piece that he's developing into that guy, that vibe ain't gonna be there. So fingers crossed, man. I really enjoy watching James Wiseman play because it's always an adventure. He hits a shot, I'll rewind that thing 3, 4 times, seriously, just to watch the Warriors bench reaction, to watch Wiseman's motion, to see how he gets to his spot, all this stuff. And, hopefully he'll be back soon. One more random development. I guess Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod, is on the cusp of buying the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's a bad thing. I do know that that's such a random variable that it's another reason why I want the Warriors to hopefully get the Minnesota pick this year in the 4 or 5 spot, fingers crossed, because whether or not A-Rod and whatever his ownership group, whether or not they're good is going to be a long-term thing, right? But it's common that if there is change, especially stepping away from Glenn Taylor, though I think he might be around somehow, but change at least shakes things up and gives folks more energy. And regarding the Timberwolves for the 2022 draft, if they were to get a top 3 pick and not give their pick to the Warriors, they would have a far better roster, assuming they get either Cade or Suggs, even Evan Mobley. But I doubt they would go for him. Who knows? But I'm not concerned about whether or not the Minnesota Timberwolves make the playoffs. I'm just concerned about whether or not they end up like the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th worst team in the league next year. Because if they are, then that Minnesota pick is going to be bleh. It's not as exciting as a trade asset or even as a potential pick to hold on to. I mean, drafting number 9 in a draft that isn't as loaded yet. I mean, we don't know. I haven't looked at the 2022 draft. Too many variables. Again, that's why this particular 2021 draft is where it's at. Anyway, that's another episode of the Oakland Warriors podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Patrick Epino, E-P-I-N-O, or at Oakland Warriors. Check us out at oaklandwarriors.com, and be sure to tell your fellow Warrior fan friends to tune in and listen. The Oakland Warriors podcast is produced by National Film Society. That's it. Music in this episode provided by Paper Sun. Special thanks to Paul Amardo for production support. See you next time.